Hey y'all, I'm back with part 2 of my February 2025 reading wrap up, so stay tuned. Welcome back to Books with Kimberly. Don't forget to like, comment, share my channel, and subscribe. I have absolutely missed y'all and my channel. I took a little break. I had a week of vacation, preparing for vacation, but I am back. And of course, I have to let y'all know the books that I finished in that last week of February. If you haven't checked out part 1 of my February 2025 wrap up, go ahead and check that out. In this video, I'll only be going over the last 4 books that I read in the month of February. I got 4 books read in 1 week, so I'm pretty proud of myself for that. Let's get right into it. Book number 1 is Chemistry by Gray Huffington. I was so excited to start the Gray List series. I previously mentioned this series in my Black Romance book number 2 challenge. Chemistry is the brother of 2 sets of siblings. I've already read about his brothers in the previous Berkeley Bred series. He has 4 brothers, and you get snippets of chemistry throughout that series, but the Gray List series is all about chemistry and his sisters, y'all. He has 7, and all of their careers helped run this business operation that they have. It's a little shady. It goes into that urban fiction genre of, yes, chemistry is the chemist and he sells drugs, but him and his sisters, their father has taken ill. This makes Chemistry realize he needs to hurry up and get a wife and also an heir to the family business. Literally within 24 hours, he meets this woman at his sister's strip club. He is immediately attracted to her, pours out his pockets to get one night with her, and that night continues and continues. The big plot in this story is that Eden, who is the woman that he is enthralled with within this story, she is hiding a secret from him. She's falling for him, but she's also holding a big secret that puts his family at risk. So it was an interesting story, but I do feel like the plot was not developed the way that I wanted it to. Her having this big secret, I feel like that could have really been developed more. I also feel like Chemistry as a character was not giving what he needed to give. In the other books, he is hyped up to be this super smart person, 10 steps ahead of everybody, the smartest person in the room. However, it took him too long to discover this secret, if he discovers this secret, because I don't want to spoil that. But I will say that if Chemistry is so smart and 10 steps ahead of people, I felt like he should have discovered this secret within the first 24 hours of meeting Eden, and he did not. So I kind of feel like as I have continued to read this Gray List series and they put Chemistry on this very high pedestal of being this mastermind, I'm side-eyeing him because I'm like, look, you basically got played, sir. I give Chemistry 3 stars. It just wasn't giving what I needed to give, but it is a great introduction into the Gray List series. Also, in the last week of February, I read the 2nd book in the Gray List series, which is Rather. Y'all, I absolutely love this book. It starts off very spicy, which all of Gray Huffington's books have really good spice in them. It starts off very spicy because we get introduced to this character, Priest. And Priest is also in this undercover world of getting a lot of money and making moves. And so he spends like $20,000, $50,000, a big amount of money to go to this secret club where you get like this penthouse and you wear masks and you match with somebody and then y'all have a night of fun. And he meets this beautiful dark-skinned woman. He does not know who she is, but they end up having a really great night together. I think they have another night together, and then she just disappears. 3 years later, we pick up with Rather. Rather is the woman, and we find out that Rather is actually engaged to someone, but she ends up running into Priest in a very interesting way that I really love how this plot unfolded. I thought this book was so good. I feel like Priest was definitely giving book husband. He has a autistic son, who is non-verbal, but rather being a therapist. We didn't get to see much of her being a therapist, especially in the organization, her using her therapy to manipulate people and get information out of enemies. But we did get to see her interact with Priest's son, Princeton, and y'all, she was amazing with him. She got Princeton to say his first word like the first time meeting him. She's that good. So I did really like this book. It didn't give me the emotional feels that I wanted. It was there, but it wasn't as heavy as I've read in some of Gray's other books. But I still give this book 5 stars because it was just so good. I felt like the plot was good. I love Rather. She is like such a classy girl. She just holds herself to high esteem. All the women in this family do. So I'm really enjoying reading about them, and I cannot wait to talk more about the siblings in the Gray List series. Book number 3 was previously mentioned in my anticipated books of 2025 list, and that is Isaac's Song by Daniel Black. I absolutely enjoy Daniel Black's work. I read Perfect Peace, and I also read Don't Cry for Me. I was so excited to find out that Isaac's Song is about the son that was mentioned in Don't Cry for Me. So a quick recap. Don't Cry for Me is a book about a man who is dying, and he has so many regrets because he did not show enough love and affection to his wife and his son who is gay. And so in Isaac's Song, we get the son who is dealing with the grief of losing his father and also the belief that his father hated him. He's not understanding how could he grieve somebody who there was no love for. But through therapy sessions and really looking back into his life, he realizes that his father did in fact love him, and there was a lot that his father did for him. He may not have expressed his love verbally, but through his memories, he realizes his dad was always there, even though he did not deal with his coming out in the way that he would have liked. There still was some love there. I give this book 3 stars. Really loved the beginning. It was so beautiful, him reflecting on his family, and I just really enjoyed those chapters. Where it lost me is when the book got to present day, and so Isaac starts writing a book, and that is where the story kind of took a turn for me. So yeah, I give this one 3 stars. The last book that I read in February was Blood Scion by Deborah Falaye. I was not excited to read this book. Okay, so y'all know I am a blind reader, and so I was just looking up Black dystopian, Black fantasy, and this is one of the books that was recommended, so I went into it blindly. And when I found out that the main character was 15, I was a little bit disappointed because the kind of fantasy that I have been craving these last few months has been more adult fantasy that has a strong romantic subplot. And I know if I'm reading about a 15-year-old that I'm probably not going to get a romance subplot at all, and if I do, it's gonna be like, you know, really cutesy, a little crush, and that's all I'm expecting. When I tell y'all this book actually ended up being really good, it does have a heavier topic. So the main character of this book is Sloan. In this society, you cannot have magic. If they find out you have magic, they will kill you and then kill your family for hiding the fact that you have magic. We do find out that Sloan has a Shay magic right away. So the main plot of this story is that there is this huge war going on. The Lucid Royal Kingdom has colonized this country, and they have been using young children as soldiers to fight against their enemy. So it's so sad because a lot of these kids don't even make it through training. And so it's very dangerous if Sloan is picked to go into this training because she doesn't really have control of her Ashay. And so if she gets angered or if something happens and she has a flare up, they will discover her secret of having magic and kill her grandfather and anybody close to her. She ends up getting picked as a child soldier, and y'all, it is just heart-wrenching what she has to do in order to even start the training process. There's a huge sacrifice she has to make, watching her task after task fight for her life was really heavy. I will say at the end is really where the story picked up, and we find out who the blood Scion is, and we kind of get the backstory of what's going on. But I will say this book was not very info dumpy. I feel like there weren't a lot of terms and history that was thrown at me that was overwhelming. So I do think it was an easier read, easier to follow. The action didn't really happen till towards the end, but I feel like it was worth the build up. And so I give this book 4 stars, and I'm really glad that I did not DNF it because the main character is 15. This book ended with a really good cliffhanger that makes me want to read that second book. So Don't Cry for Me and Blood Scion were audiobook reads, and the 2 Great Huffington books I read on my Kindle. I ended up DNFing these 2 books that I tried, and I'm going to tell y'all about those. I hate that I'm going to butcher this name, but the first book that I DNF'd was Ray Bear by Jordan Ifueko. I did look up on TikTok what are some Black fantasy books, and as much as I wanted Black adult fantasy, I also wanted books that I didn't have to purchase, that I already had access to either on Kindle Unlimited or one of my library apps. Ray Bear was one book that I had access to. Within the first couple hours that I listened to, it was just info dump after info dump, and there was a lot of time jumping as well. And so I felt like I could not get to that sweet spot where you get that character development, that plot development, and all the information isn't so heavy. I didn't get to that sweet spot, and so me being impatient, I end up DNFing this book. The other book I tried was Gilded Ones by Namina Forma. I went off this cover, and I thought that this was going to be another book about Orishas. It was going to be like a Children of Blood and Bone. When I started this book, and she's like the only Black girl in this white society, and she can't die, and she's one of the Gilded Ones. I was not expecting that. The plot seems interesting, but I was being very impatient. I wanted these books to catch me within that first hour of listening, those first couple chapters. And this was one that was kind of dragging a little bit in the beginning. I didn't get to the sweet spot either where the plot really unfolds. And this was another one that I felt like within those first couple hours, it didn't really capture my attention, so I DNF'd it. Now, whether these are hard DNFs or soft DNFs, I do not know. The difference between those terms is a soft DNF is when you plan to pick up these books at a later date. Hard DNF is you never want to read them again. I'm trying to resist the urge to hard DNF these books because it is Black fantasy, and I love reading books about Black characters by Black authors, and so I want to force myself to read them in case they get good towards the middle. But for right now, they are hard DNF. Right now, I am looking for adult fantasy. So if you have any Black adult fantasy recommendations, please get down in the comments and let me know, because I feel like I'm entering a fantasy slump. I want more Black fantasy, but I feel like the Black fantasy that I'm coming across is more romantasy and that comedic romantasy that I'm not a huge fan of. Y'all, that's it for the books I read in February. Get down in the comments and let me know what books you have been reading. Let me know those Black fantasy recommendations if you have any. And thanks again for tuning in to a Books with Kimberly video.